Evolve just toppled the Cyber Bullies 2-1, and that'll bring us to the other side of the bracket. We've got semifinals coming at you live here from hi-rez Studios. It's going to be Los Amigos versus Tactical Feed.
And I know all about that tactical feeding playing with my previous teammates.
Absolutely. As we said, Evolve, they came out in 2 games to beat out the Cyber Bullies. Cyber Bullies took out game number 2, but wasn't able to really find that vibe for the conclusion of the series. Los Amigos, however, we'll be searching to find their victory in just 2 games. And, of course, this is your Challenger Cup Console League presented by FACEIT. And the winner of this match will already be in relegation, as we see the other guys on the other side of the semifinals already guaranteed there. Finals is more about the money and about standings. So the victor of this best of 3 will wind up competing with the best of the best on the side of the Console League in order to secure their potential spot in the Pro League.
It's always interesting to see the different styles coming out of teams in the semifinals. We see like different picks, different comfort picks, like the Mercury and the Lasset specifically. The Scylla a lot. Yeah, we haven't seen Scylla quite a lot recently. We've seen it a lot before the purple pot change, and now it got brought back. It was doing pretty well with the Kumbhakarna, not so much with the Athena, unfortunately, but they found a win either way. We'll see what these 2 teams are able to pull out.
Yeah, I'm pretty excited to see what these guys are going to bring to the table, because, like Totally said, there's a lot of other nonsense that goes on behind the scenes when it comes to picking out gods and stuff. Scylla is a character that kind of suffers without having that purple pot available to her, but if she's able to go ahead and be babysat during the jungle, there's a way to play it. So I forgot that we're on camera. I'm sitting here messing with my hair the whole damn time.
I was actually gonna keep playing with you, dude. I saw you doing that, and I was just gonna keep playing with my hair too at the same time.
Well, I have this like this like Superman curl that comes down, and like I just can't deal. And normally when we go to picks and bans, we're not here any longer. So still catching me by surprise. I'm adapting and adjusting, which is exactly what Tactical Feed and Los Amigos are going to have to do in order to find themselves on the top of their semifinal matchup. Standard ban as far as the Guan Yu, but Thor, a character that we really don't see banned that often.
That means that Tactical Feed has been doing a little bit of their homework against Los Amigos and the jungler preferring that pick. So I like the idea and the mindset. And if your first pick, you do have the luxury of doing one throwaway ban. We saw in the Epsilon Invitational enemy against Panthera, there was a lot of past bans in that set, mostly in the first pick because of that luxury.
There's a lot of high-tier characters that you want to go ahead and select, and if you use a past ban, you can go ahead, or a Thor ban in this case, you can be the one to select the choice. So Nemesis, Guan Yu, Fafnir, Thor, take it off the table. So we'll see something like a Susano, other guys that really come to mind totally for you.
Bacchus would have been nice in the first pick, potential more than often. It would also be Arlong Shen recently.
We've seen a lot of Arlong Shen being picked up first, and believe it or not, Sobek. Sobek is a lot of the time looked at in the same regard as Bacchus, looking for those quick initiations and just heavy aggression.
See, you say Sobek, and I agree with you, but it's taken with a grain of salt because of how much you actually love Sobek.
Well, see, that's the thing. It's actually really funny when we're here in our like Challenger Cup stuff like this. It's, you know, we can have a little bit more fun in the set of third, and everybody during the Epsilon Invitational was sort of like, hey, where's the Sobek memes? But, you know, when we're in game time, we're in game time.
That's true.
It's not like a regular season game. You know, these games right here for FACEIT, a little bit more important as these guys have everything on the line trying to become the next Pro League player. So Bacchus and Raijin, certainly a powerful combination on the other side of the map.
Yeah, with the Nemesis off the table, it's going to be an aggressive jungler probably to follow up off of the crowd control from the Bacchus and the damage of the Raijin. On the flip-hand side, however, Amaterasu, we don't normally see her the last set. She played fantastically. We saw it on to Gypsy. He found 3 solo kills in his laning phase, being able to transition that in the mid-game and finding the win for his team.
You know what's actually interesting to me is I think Amaterasu is a fantastic character. She'll be playing against Robin most likely, unless one of those winds up in the jungle for some strange reason. But we don't, as you said, we don't see her all the time. What is it that keeps Amaterasu from being sort of a first choice in that solo lane?
It's a lot of flexibility in terms of countering her, whether you pick the Bologna, the Osiris, anything that can shut her down in the early game. You want to be able to bully her out, and that's exactly what Los Amigos do. They pick up this Robin to try to be able to bully it out. Now, in the last set, Evolve against Cyberbullies, they didn't have success in bullying out the Amaterasu, but this time around, maybe Los Amigos was watching that previous set and it's like, okay, Amaterasu's weak early, but we have a strategy of how to shut her down.
Interesting that Ao Kuang makes it this far into the draft, and Tactical Feed sort of remembers that, and they'll go ahead and ban him out so far. Kumakarna and Sobek, the other two bans coming out from Los Amigos. So Tactical Feed will ban out the Monkey. That's 3 out of 4 bans dedicated to the Assassin, or rather the jungle spot. So we'll see where Los Amigos opts to go with a lot of bans specifically in that jungle role.
It's smart jungle bans too because of the fact that you have a Bacchus and a Raijin. It's a huge wombo combo potential. They belly flop into the stun, and while the Bacchus is setting that up, the Raijin has all the time to start throwing out those drums. So smart to ban out these remaining junglers.
Still, Los Amigos avoiding the pick of the jungle. They're going to go the way of Neath, and we'll see where Tactical Feed opts to go. They've got 2 choices, likely to include a Hunter and a support, although Sol could be playing in that role as well.
A lot of supports being banned from Los Amigos. The Sobek and Kumakarna are off.
I like the Neath choice by Amigos as well, because where Sol has some flexibility in the mid lane or the Hunter role, she's usually combined with Neath, so that direct combination going to be off the table. Instead, the Athena will be selected.
Not a bad option. You have the global presence. If there's ever a sticky situation for the Amaterasu that could be potentially ganked, especially with the Neath ultimate, that global will battle the Neath global.
Apollo will be the Hunter, so it's confirmed that Sol will be in the mid lane. We've seen a mid lane Apollo once from Whirlwind, and it wasn't successful. So I doubt we're going to see it again. Apollo, fantastic split pusher, as well as, well, the beauty of that is that Apollo could go ahead and split push, and then if he gets in trouble, he can either eject with the ultimate or inject with help from Athena.
Now, all these jungle bans from Tactical Feed, they left open the Fenrir, and this is why sometimes you don't want to ban junglers. There's just too many junglers out there that can synergize with mids. Fenrir, one of the strongest early game gods you can put in that position.
Yeah, and Fenrir will be the selection, and it's one of those situations, like you said, where I think a lot of bans come out, hold that thought early, game didn't even start. Bacchus about to start things off himself. Gets a nice belly flop and knocks up the Athena.
Just starting the party early, you know?
Wow. I kind of expected more aggression off of that, but Los Amigos just a couple of steps behind. Can't find it, so everything all even.
Warding spots for Tactical Feed. They're very aggressive in the solo side. They're really worried about this combination from the Robin and the Fenrir.
E-God Jelly. Wow, that's a funny one. So just bringing it back, Eager, one of the teams that will be joining us this weekend at our Smite Console League LAN. Their support name is Jelly. Funny how that works out.
But his name is with 3 L's.
There you go. So let's introduce ourselves. 2-hour squads here. Tactical Feed in blue, coming out of the left side of your spectator UI. What's up, Bart? We've got JoltaK in the right lane. Camping Solo is the jungler's name. I actually really like that. Mr. Teep will play Soul and head over to the mid. And then our side lane, as we said, Jelly will be alongside Piri. And then right, Red, Spectator UI. Dr. Lil Caves will be your solo laner, joined by LayersOfDeath right now. And that's the guy on the doggo. Mid lane will be Michael Checo. Nice simple name right there. Kenshin will be your support, and he'll be alongside Cameron G on the Neath. So a lot of standard names coming out from both Los Amigos and Tactical Feed. Based on composition alone, Toli, who do you think has the edge?
Honestly, I would have to give it slight edge to Tactical Feed. I just like the late game presence between their 2 side lanes, between Solo and Hunter. The Amaterasu going to be more effective in those mid to late game teamfights, as well as the Apollo will have the more DPS on his side.
You know, I got to say as well, if Los Amigos can win this in the mid game, if this game is a 21 to 24 minute game, 25 minute game, I think Los Amigos takes it home. Bacchus belly jump into some of the nonsense that Fenrir and the mid lane can bring can really be devastating. But like you said, if Tactical Feed wind up stretching this out to a half hour or longer, I think the devastating combos of Apollo and Amaterasu, like you said, will be a little bit more prevalent.
I also want to see if this jungler is actually going to be camping the solo lane, trying to get Amaterasu ahead.
Well, that's the beauty of this name. All of a sudden, and you know, jokes aside, it's actually kind of fun. Anytime you can force your opponent to think, I mean, you're doing something right. So you name yourself camping solo. Is he actually going to keep camping solo? Or is it a bait? They want me to think he's camping solo, but then they want me to think he's camping solo, so he's not going to camp solo. But then they want me to think that he's not going to be camping solo, so I think he's going to be camping solo.
It's just the mind games, going to force out some wards. Meanwhile, Mr. Teep taking a lot of damage from that Brutalize, and this is the beauty of the Fenrir pick. Adapting was known to always play the Fenrir early on, and we saw him play it a couple times in the Epsilon Invitational.
I mean, it's just so powerful early game. If you're able to maximize your runes, you get a guaranteed stun every time you want to go to engage. And then, I mean, Brutalize is an ability that players have been complaining about, newer players, I should say. There's a lot of ways to mitigate it, silence, etc., and just sort of deal with the damage. But early on, the fact that it follows your dashes and stuff, it can be really troublesome to deal with if you don't have the tools or know how to really combat the Fenrir.
And JoltaK in a lot of trouble, just getting outpoked by Dr. Little Caves currently. And this is what you have to do in the solo lane specifically. You have to apply this kind of a pressure. As a result, camping solo is going to try to alleviate some of this pressure.
So we see the Susano, level 5 already, so it does have the knockup available to him. He wants to get behind this Raven, more importantly, behind the wave as well. There's a beautiful combination, and knockup is strong. The pull towards as well. The ultimate for Raven, not going to be used. There's a couple of basics. Neath is going to try and stop camping solo, and he will. More importantly, the rotation from mid, and LayersOfDeath takes out JoltaK.
JoltaK just caught in a really awkward spot and a beautiful clean-up kill. Now, speed buffs have respawned. It's going to be important for Los Amigos to maybe extend this advantage.
Yeah, they've got 3 players here, so they're going to push out the wave, and I expect a little bit of an invade as well because they have the numbers here. Looks like Technical Feed expect that as well, so they just head towards speed, get that for camping solo, and then pretty much just relinquish the blue buff.
Susano was thinking about contesting it, but he would definitely get stunned out and ultied by LayersOfDeath.
There's a taunt onto the support. Kenshin doing what he can, finding a belly flop onto the support, but really just much ado about nothing.
Not unfortunately, not in position as his other 2 teammates. Found the belly flop. Should have probably tried to set up the stun to buy a little bit more time for the rest of his team to find that kill.
Yeah, just wasn't able to, people were a little bit too far away, I think.
So left side mid Harpies going in the way of Los Amigos. They're grouped up to get this red buff. Speed and blue are still available on their own side of the map. And with this difference of timers on the speed and blue, that means there's going to be more pressure on that solo lane.
Right, a lot of times teams, whether they want to invade or not, can't because they have to take their own buff. But as you just mentioned, totally, the different timers will allow these players to sort of get their own and then go for a different one pretty much at their leisure. So we'll see which team decides to be a little bit more aggressive.
Only 1 kill on the board for Los Amigos, but they're already up 1,400 gold with still speed buff standing for them. They can make some really aggressive plays. With this Fenrir Raijin, I expect another kill or so once these speed and the blue respawn for tactical feed.
And again, Los Amigos, their composition certainly tilted towards more of the early game than the late game. So as long as they're able to continue pushing this forward, like we said, their goal is to end this game really before 25 minutes or so, before some of the harder carries on tactical feed can sort of come online, if you will.
Raven gonna meet the Soul, gonna stun her out. No, the Fenrir not on the mark, but the Neath ultimate, as well as the Ragnarok trying to connect, but Desapri's gonna absorb so much.
4.5 on 1. I say half because that World Weaver is certainly a big presence, and it's actually really funny because World Weaver hurts a fair amount. Early game, it doesn't really do that much damage, but the stun is something that you really have to be aware of. But the way that it impacts the enemy's gameplay, as soon as you see that Neath targeter on you, you immediately watch the player either try to escape or try to use their purification. It's very interesting how just a targeter can really affect combat.
And it doesn't help the fact that you not only you have to worry about the World Weaver from the dual lane, but because your solo's getting pushed out, because your mid's getting pushed out, now you run into 3 more members, and tactical feed losing a 2nd member. Los Amigos pretty in a good spot. Gold Fury warding situation's pretty solid, I would say. They could elect to go for it, but looking at the relic situation, Athena does have the raft to contest this.
Yeah, Los Amigos are pretty much in the driver's seat here, totally. Almost 2,000 gold up this early is certainly not a spot you want to be in. If you're a tactical feed fan, belly flop gonna miss completely, but the dog from the backside finds a stun onto Apollo, brutalize, and an excellent taunt, but the taunt doesn't catch the hunter, and Spirit Arrow will do the job. Jelly sits down, so another death on the side of TF. Los Amigos find 3.
And in the solo lane, the speed buff being contested while Gold Fury being started. I love the separation. 3 members from Tactical Feed do not want to give up the speed buff, but they're giving up the Gold Fury instead.
And instead, Robin tried to make the rotation, won't be able to, so the players on Tactical Feed trying to deal with him, and Los Amigos already take their objective right to the bank, and not too big of a deal. And another 1,000 gold tacked on. 3K in the lead is Los Amigos.
They're trying to find a way to keep being aggressive. Fenrir was waiting for somebody to turn the corner on them. Instead, going to go for these left side mid Harpies, while the Bacchus could be the one to set up the initiation instead.
Now, when you're going up against a team that has an early game composition through and through, you sort of expect a 1,000 gold leader, so 3,000 is pushing it. But as much as we said that Los Amigos are a little bit tilted towards the early game, they're not an Isis, Thanatos, Naja solo lane composition. I mean, Los Amigos have a balanced comp, and really you've got to expect to be even here this early on. So this 3,000 gold lead, we always say gold is relative. What does that mean? How much is 3K this early?
3K at the 8-minute mark is about maybe 6K. Around 15 to 18 minutes or so. And this is a pretty good spot because that Breastplate of Valor will be finished for the Robin first. He's going to be able to be even more aggressive than he already was, and even fight against the Susano as well.
And that's really the key that you just nailed, the completed Breastplate of Valor. When we say that gold is relative, it's because of these individual power spikes. It's because of these individual items that go ahead and get selected. That Breastplate of Valor means a lot more than the 4th item versus the 3rd item. So that CDR that we see on the Robin, he'll be able to utilize that and push his advantage even more further.
And just being a distraction, we saw him being a great distraction, forcing 3 members of Tactical Feed just to defend their own speed buff, conceding the Gold Fury, and that's something that he can do even more efficiently now with his extra defense power spike.
One of the scary things about gold leads is that they're very, or one of the deceiving things about gold leads is that they're very abstract. This team is above 3,000 gold, right? What does that mean? Well, there's almost 1,000 gold on the solo lane. There's almost 1,000 gold on the jungle as well. So those 2 characters by themselves will just be that much more powerful. And really, when you break it down like that, that's when it becomes scary. So solo lane can go hide, but the jungle, Fenrir, he's all over the place.
Yeah, and the Susano can't make the plays that he really needs to. He's a level behind currently on this Fenrir, as well as the Raijin being a level ahead of the Soul. So that 2v2 between the mid jungle going heavily in the favor of Los Amigos, and they could still continue to be aggressive. They don't have vision control around the dueling, but Apollo's going to drop to that World Weaver. Nice exchange for Cameron.
Just the 1v1. Cameron winds up on top of that, as you said, and easy. Just making it look like it. There's the ultimate from the dog. This will help him out even more so. LayersOfDeath gets the kill. Now it's a 2-on-1. Camping solo, going to stay underneath, and LayersOfDeath might trade his life for that, but he's totally fine with it.
And now the speed buff has respawned. He's going to be fine. Just not enough archers to find the kill. And now Los Amigos with that 2-player pick, and the Athena unfortunately not landing off of that Defender of Olympus. Speed buff is going to fall. Blue buff's respawning as well. Tower's going to get pressured on both side lanes.
Very important that that Athena doesn't fall down for Los Amigos. They're able to find the DPS to take the character out before Defender of Olympus comes down. If Piri winds up being there, I think that's at least a dead Fenrir, if not more. So big play for that DPS to come out. 6 kills to 0. Los Amigos are sitting pretty, 5,000 gold up, and the Fire Giant has just spawned as we pass the 10-minute mark.
And the timing to be this aggressive in the solo lane is just so much in Los Amigos' favor. The Gold Fury is still down for another minute and a half or so. It's just perfect time. And look at this, just no possible way to stop this Fenrir. The taunt, unfortunately, off the mark, and finding another kill. Up 7-0 is Los Amigos.
Love to see this sort of play, especially on the side of the Pro-Am scene in Challenger Cup. 2 of the hardest things to do, I think, Anatoly, are close a game We'll see challenger teams struggle with that and also find their lead and utilize it. It's very easy to bite off too much, and it's very easy to say, all right, we have a lead, let's play careful and sustain it. What we're seeing out of the Fenrir player, LayersOfDeath, he's using his lead. Now that he's 1,000 gold ahead by himself, even more so now, almost 2K, he's jumping into the enemy jungle and able to find and flex in there. So very powerful stuff coming out from Los Amigos.
Yeah, so he also has the 3-level advantage. He has the Void Shield, so he's not worried about this Amaterasu, the Susano, or the Tier 1 tower currently. He's just always in the right spot in the early game, and that's allowing the rest of his team to follow up because the jungle position is the most important one in Smite currently. You control the pace of the game. You have to be the one in the right position, or at least in a counter gank potential.
I mean, we say that a lot, and this game is really just proof in the pudding. You see Jelly getting in some trouble. World Weaver will hit him, but won't be enough to kill. And this is really what we're talking about.
It already hit him before he took off.
Okay, I was worried for that. But this is really what we're talking about. The Fenrir completely dictating the pace of the game right here. He goes and takes out the solo lane so that the solo lane tower is able to be taken. He takes out the dual lane so that the Gold Fury is able to be taken.
And beautiful zoning coming out of Caves, able to zone away the Wrath onto the Athena, securing the second Gold Fury for Los Amigos. Tier 1 tower going to fall in the solo, but it's definitely worth it. 12.5-minute Gold Fury for Los Amigos.
JoltaK going to split push and take out the Tier 1 tower. Now, it's less is that a good decision and more, what else can he do? This fight in the mid lane, not going to go the way of tactical feed. Ultimate coming out from Soul, but just not enough to deter the opposition from going for the kills. Finally, JoltaK makes the rotation, stuns onto 2, but not that big of a deal.
Team's a little zoned out. Susano forced to retreat. Bacchus going to clean that up with the burp. 2 members low on the side of Los Amigos, but in the mid lane, Soul is very low.
Big taunt coming out from Athena, but realizing Tactical Feed don't have the numbers or the strength to really take this fight. 4-on-5 with Camping Solo sitting down. 8 kills. Los Amigos also wind up taking another tower.
And another speed buff to boot. That's going to be the second one off the table. LayersOfDeath really in a great spot to keep on snowballing, still 3 levels ahead. And this is the point where it gets really scary for Tactical Feed because it's more about the gold. It's also the experience. The level difference is just almost getting to that point where you just can't do anything.
Right, and that's what's fun about this Fenrir, in that a lot of times Fenrir is forced into his default build of being a warrior. Right? We just see pure defense built on him because by default, this character's job is to jump into a bunch of other players and then sort of get attacked. Well, when you have a gigantic lead like this, you can afford to build a couple of offensive items. I reckon we'll see the Jotun's Wrath on the Woof Woof. I mean, this is something that he's going to allow to be just more aggressive than normal.
And it's because of the base damage on his abilities that allows him to be this aggressive. In general, the World Weaver going to come out onto the Susano. Meanwhile, the Brutalize on the Amaterasu, splitting up the forces. And now Fenrir is going to collapse again, but it doesn't matter. Camping Solo just too far behind, and Dr. Lil Caves finds the kill.
And not just LayersOfDeath now spreading the lead to the rest of the team and understanding that Los Amigos, again, using their lead effectively is something that's easier said than done, I feel, in a competitive game. And watching these players understand that, look, if we group up and fight 2-on-2, we're giving Tactical Feed a shot. But if we separate, they can't take us 1-on-1. And we'll find all these individual duels by ourselves. And that's how Los Amigos are able to really skyrocket ahead.
Especially if they don't have to commit under the Tier 2 tower. Exactly. And effectively, even if they don't find the kill, having the members of Tactical Feed return to base, lose that time and precious farming ability to get the gold and experience to get back into the game is what's allowing Los Amigos to keep extending their lead.
Push underneath the tower, start into a knockup is devastating. Crowd control. Intoxicate not going to find Jelly, but the mid lane certainly will. Apollo takes too much damage before he even sends a basic attack out to really do much of anything. And that's the story here. You look at Tactical Feed's dual lane, they're at the bottom of the player damage chart, and this is so much less the story about Piri and Jelly not doing well and more about Los Amigos making sure they can't do well.
And it's very quiet play by Cameron currently. Only 9,000 damage, but found the solo kill onto Jelly earlier on, and the constant World Weavers has just been so detrimental for Los Amigos' success.
I love you, Tully. I was literally about to say that before we saw the engagement on the left-hand side. If that tower didn't go down, I was just about to bring up the Neath. One thing that frustrates me, seeing Neath in competition, is knowing the cooldown on World Weaver and not seeing it come out all the time. We have seen Neath use the ultimate virtually on cooldown, and sometimes it doesn't do anything. Other times, it forces a playstyle. Other times, it confirms a kill, confirms aggression. We've seen so many, and I love it.
Soul gonna get bullied out yet again, as well as Susano very low. Meanwhile, duo lane boxing. The Neath is 3 levels ahead. Jelly needs to be very mindful about this advantage. Cameron charging the World Weaver. There's 4 members grouped up for a 3rd speed buff invade yet again.
And the World Weaver is going to find a stun onto someone. And who it is really irrelevant. It's just about pushing the players out of the conversation to allow Los Amigos to have this invade. All the way from the left-hand side, Jelly comes down, trying to do what he can with his Apollo ultimate, but already tactical feed under the eyes of everybody else. Kenshin gets 1. Michael gets another. Teep gets his team on the board. That's 1 for tactical feed thanks to the Soul. But very quickly, Amaterasu's in trouble, and camping solo is another kill for LayersOfDeath. 5, 0, and 5 in total.
That was a 3 for 1, but the Neath wasn't even in that team fight. 4-on-5 fight successful for Los Amigos. Still putting pressure on the tier 2 tower. Amaterasu's running south. Doesn't even care about Amaterasu, just going to get the tower instead.
Exactly. World Weaver is all Cameron really needed to contribute. Fire and forget. Spends the rest of the time in the lane. Apollo rotates. Well, she's already done her rotation. The World Weaver confirms a kill off of a stun. She's able to push out the wave. 1,500 gold for that tower is more than she would get contributing to the team fight.
And they're already up 10,000 gold. Going to extend it to about 11.5 to 12 after this Gold Fury. This is spelling trouble real quickly for tactical feed. It's not even the 20-minute mark yet.
Again, understanding your lead and playing it. Neath understood that she didn't have to fully rotate. Being 10,000 gold ahead, her teammates have the items and the experience to take the fight 4v5. And then not even having to take it 4v5, we saw Los Amigos successfully split up the team fight into 2 separate engagements.
So this is going to be really stretching the mark for a tactical feat of how to get back into this game. They have to be asking themselves this question currently, because obviously they cannot fight straight up in a 4-on-4,
sure.
5-on-5, doesn't matter. And you really can't have Apollo split push because he's just going to sit there anyway. So the question is, what do? You have to be aggressively warding and look for somebody that's isolated.
And Amaterasu going to get isolated by Los Amigos. Finds a way out of the left-hand side, but the dog, there's the ultimate, finds it. And there's the damage from the mid lane. Love the play out of these guys. Totally, realistically, I mean, the Los Amigos, these guys are playing very good Smite. They're playing smart Smite as well, which I think separates them from some of the other teams around. Really, what's impressing you the most out of Los Amigos?
It's just the pressure that between this mid jungle has been able to do. We see the LayersOfDeath which constantly camp the solo lane early on, which allows the Robin to be put in this position, level 19, just doing so much damage at this stage.
The discipline to go ahead and let that soul go. They know that the Athena's dead. Soul, on the other hand, not guaranteed. And this is what the Apollo needs to do.
How do you do that? How do you shoot backwards like that?
You just got to be cool, man.
He's on the next level, man.
And he's going to go right for the Phoenix. Love the choice because, like you said, he's not going to be able to fight head into this anyway. Apollo's inclusion into this team fight is going to be minimal at best. So forced to be over there split pushing on the right-hand side. Amigos, go ahead and pick up the Phoenix, and there's really nothing Tactical Feed can do about it. Kenshin takes 1, LayersOfDeath takes another, and this is going to be a 3rd death thanks to the ultimate out of the Fenrir, dashing away, not quite, spoke too soon. So slippery Susano finds a way.
Used the purification. Caster's cursed, unfortunately.
Caster's cursed, man.
JoltaK tried to zone away the Neath during the Let Phoenix siege. Unfortunately, just 2 under-leveled realistically to contest. Level 19 Neath against the 17 Amaterasu. Not much health on the side of Ama and being able to stand switch. So Phoenix going in the favor of Los Amigos, getting the tier 2 mid tower as well, extending their goalie to about 14,000. And they're going to put their sights onto Fire Giant once they get a little bit healthy and spend all that gold in hand.
This has been just pure dominance, Anatoly. Los Amigos have a single kill really has gotten the way. And good for Tactical Feed, avoiding the shutout. That's always a strong feeling to go for. But the Los Amigos have just been here every step of the way, making sure that their opponent aren't really able to find a single moment to breathe.
And you have to be playing with an objective mindset if you want to take it to the next level in the SCL, because right now, the way Tactical Feet has been playing is exactly the way their name implies right now. It could be a strategy where, all right, we're going to give up the first game, we're going to see in game number 2.
And on the other hand, Los Amigos look like a team that's ready to go to relegations. Again, that's what this is all about, folks. The winner of this heads on to SCL relegation. Piri not going anywhere just yet. Ultimate out of the soul, good shot, but just not enough damage. She's going to be followed up on the level 19 Raijin and take it out. Michael gets credit.
And forced to use the Sanctuary as well. Jelly getting taken out by Dr. L. Amaterasu in an awkward position, gets belly flop, but with that movement speed, not even in range to stun.
Again, see ya. Doesn't matter if it's a kill or it's an escape. Los Amigos know exactly what they want. It's got a Phoenix and then a Titan after that. Michael gets another one, forcing the surrender. 20-1 in 22 minutes of play. Well done for the guys on Los Amigos.
Just impressive play all around. The Fenrir, the Raijin, setting up the Raven to get out of the early game laning phase. Now, we saw in the last set just how powerful the Amaterasu is when she's ahead. So there was just a great mindset to shut her down, especially when you have World Weaver available to you. Just constantly applying the pressure and then constantly taking away the speed buffs as well.
We saw it during picks and bans. We said, hey, Los Amigos are going to put themselves in a position where they have to win this game before 25 minutes. Now, it was 22 minutes of play, but I think that game was won in minute 3.
Yeah, I don't think if that game lasted an additional 3 or 4 minutes that there was any possible comeback for Tactical Feet. But going into game number 2, everything is off the table now. You don't have to worry about the last game. You have basically the resources of like, okay, what were their picks and bans? How did they use it against us? Too many jungle bans, honestly, against Los Amigos, I would say, because you gave him Fenrir and Raijin.
They banned out 3 out of 4 of the bans were focused in the jungle. They, of course, had their own jungle pick, which they picked earlier. And Fenrir looked like it could be a first pick for Los Amigos.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. It's just too much pressure. We saw, like, they were so afraid of the invade as well from the Raven Fenrir that they placed 2 early wards, one on the top right mid Harpies, one inside the speed buff on top.
Here's a